Hey guys, hello, and welcome to Monday's Mindset and Manifestation. Today we are talking about pushing beyond your edges. And this one was inspired by one of my yoga teachers who said this in class, and it just was like this light bulb went on, and I was like, oh, push beyond your edges. I love that so much, and it reminded me of getting out of your comfort zones, which can feel scary, and let me know if this is true for you, because you hear this a lot. It's like, even with the new year, hey Michelle, thanks for being on. We've got these goals and we've got these intentions and things that we want to do, and a lot of times it's like pushing us to do something that's different, doing something that's like outside of this box that we keep ourselves in, and it could be really uncomfortable. So in this yoga class, we were doing all these different moves, and what this teacher says, which I love, is, let's do this pose. And she goes, be creative, move your body, see what feels good for you. You don't necessarily have to do the pose the way I'm modeling it for you. And at the end, she goes, always remember to what can you do each day to push beyond your edge. And I thought there was an ease about it. And it was like, you know what? This feels a lot easier. It feels like the path of least resistance. And when something feels easier, we're more likely to put one foot in front of the other and do it. Does that make sense? Rather than it feeling like this difficult, this hard thing to do. So that's what I want to talk about today. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Nikki Gangemi, and I help online coaches shift their identity to thriving entrepreneurs so they can make more money and impact doing what they love. And so let's push. Let's push beyond your edges. I got this frame out before I took the glass out because I like to give you guys visuals. I think it's really helpful. But imagine your comfort zones like you keep this box that you don't see, nobody sees. It's like this invisible box around you. And anytime you get to an edge where it's unfamiliar, where it's something you've never tried before, you get anxious, or you get scared, or all of a sudden your brain might get foggy and you're like, I'm missing or lacking clarity around this, and I just don't know what my next steps are. And what I'm suggesting to you is that maybe just stepping back and considering that maybe you've hit your edge. Maybe what you want to do is just outside of your comfort zone. So you go into that panic, because that's what our brain does, right? It wants to keep us safe. But here's the thing, everything that you want, the more money, the next level of your business, whatever it is, that ideal weight, that ideal partner, all of it, it's on the outside of those edges. It's here and it's here and it's here, and it's like, how can I break through? How can I break through? Because that is where everything is. What you want is on the outside of your comfort zone. But we go into, what if this doesn't work out? And what if I fail? And sometimes we worry, what if I succeed? Because some of us, success is scary too. And we have these preconceived ideas and stories that, with success comes more responsibility. And, what if I lose friends? Or what if I'm going against, my family? And we have that loyalty and all these things that we're just not aware of. And what I'm thinking is, what if it's not true? What if it's just your mind, your subconscious mind, just trying to keep you safe? Because the truth is, the subconscious mind, it's the oldest part of the brain, it's the reptilian brain, and it's responsible for 95% of our day. I mean, it's keeping us breathing right now. We don't have to think about it. It's keeping our heart beating. We don't have to think about that. It's keeping our thyroid regulated. We don't have to think about it. And this is how we get to just be on autopilot each day. But it's also designed, it likes safety, and it likes what's familiar. So anytime you're thinking of doing something that's not safe or it's not familiar, all of a sudden you go into this like panic, or maybe not panic, but that fight, flight, or freeze. You start going into the doubting and the fear and the anxiety. And sometimes it's just a matter of becoming aware. That's really the first step. It's just becoming aware that, I think I've hit my edge. I think that's what's happening. And my subconscious doesn't believe that this thing that I want to do is safe. It doesn't believe that it's, because it's not familiar. But consciously, we know that that's not true. It's perfectly safe to do something that's new. One of the things that had come up for me was I have this tendency to make things take longer than they need to. And part of it might be the whole mentality, no pain, no gain. And that's just a belief, right? So we make things harder for ourselves. So I started this new system. It's like this calendar where I'm putting, everything that I need to do for my business on the calendar. I'm blocking it out. I'm color coordinating it so I could see how much of my time each week is put into sales, how much is put into coaching, how much is put into, tech or content creation and all these things. And initially it felt really good. I'm like, I love this. I'm finishing things up a lot more quickly. I'm getting things done and I have time to spare. And guess what happens? That whole thing happens in the subconscious mind where it's like, whoop, this is not familiar. What's going on here? And all of a sudden, it's like the same thing. You start getting the feelings of anxiety and discomfort. And what happens is you go right back to your old ways of being, to your habits, because that's what we know. So the thing is, number one, just be aware of it and just start noticing these little signs. Start to notice when you start to get into anxiety or any of this little fear pops up. Is this making sense, you guys? Let me know if this makes sense to you. But notice the little signs along the way before you get to that day where you just you're reflecting back. Like recently people reflected on their year and they're like, I'm not where I wanted to be. I expected to be much further along and I can't believe a year has passed and I'm pretty much in the same spot. We don't want it to get there. We want to notice the little signs along the way. Thanks, Michelle, for saying that. Right? It's like, when you're on the beach and you hours later, you go home, you take a shower, you look in the mirror and you're like, oh my God, I am bright red. I am so burnt. It's like, you didn't notice the signs along the way. You didn't notice that you were sweating. Well, that's a little sign on the beach that maybe you need to reapply because you're sweating the suntan lotion away. You didn't notice that because you were hot, you went in the ocean and the water just washed away that suntan lotion. We've got these little signs that sometimes we ignore. And if we could notice the signs of anxiety, if we could notice the signs of getting distracted and stopping what you're doing, the thing that you want to work on to move the needle forward, to get things done, and you go and you get distracted into doing something else around the house or checking emails, or even the sign that you're making something, a little simple task, a lot harder than it needs to be. These are little signs that you're moving outside of your comfort zone. And it's no longer comfortable. So that's how we always go back to our old ways and our old habits. And it's this vicious cycle. So become aware and then just kind of sit back into like, I'm going to observe this, almost as if you're watching a friend do this, right? We can point it out in other people and we notice it so much easier, but sit back and notice it and observe it in yourself and just say to yourself, okay, this is interesting. What's going on here? And then acknowledge. That's step 2, acknowledge. And that just means you're, admitting, I think I've hit an edge. I think I'm on the brink of growing, of something really big happening, and the back of my mind just doesn't think this is safe because it's unknown, it's not familiar, and that's all it is. And then you get to question, you get to say to yourself, is this true? A lot of us, we do this all the time, maybe this isn't meant to be. We say things like this, these stories that we tell ourselves. Hey, Vicki, thanks for being on. Can you relate to this? We say these things to ourselves, well, maybe it's just not meant to be. Or maybe I've got to work harder. Or, maybe I'm not ready enough. Maybe I don't know enough, or I'm not good enough. Or what if I fail? All of these stories, and just acknowledge, okay, this is what I'm starting to tell myself. Maybe I'm just a little uncomfortable because I'm kind of pushing beyond my edge. And is this true? Is any of this true? And another question is, whose thought is this? The what if I fail? The what if I'm not good enough? The maybe I need to work harder? Those are not your thoughts. I think it's pretty safe to say that those are not your original thoughts that you came up with. They're things that we've heard along the way of growing up, whether from parents, teachers, the TV, society, and we've just bought in. We've bought into all of this. So sometimes it's just a matter of, like I said, becoming aware and then stopping and acknowledging and asking yourself, is this true, and whose thought is it? And just say, I'm noticing I'm experiencing a little bit of anxiety right now, or a little bit of fear. And it just means that I've gone beyond my comfort zone. And it's okay. And it's okay, and it's safe. So the one thing you can do to move beyond this is to start taking one small step and ask yourself, what's one stretch moment? And this is a moment or this is an action that's going to just stretch you a little bit beyond that edge, right? It's just going to push you a little bit, and you're going to acknowledge that any feelings that come up, that this is normal, this is just me expanding and growing, and I get to be aware of it, I get to breathe through it, and I get to choose another thought. Because all of these thoughts are just based on our beliefs. And Abraham Hicks, and I'm sure you've heard this before, and I've even said it a bunch of times because I love it and it's so true, is that a belief is just thoughts that you've told yourself again and again. So what if we started telling ourselves new thoughts? Just start telling yourself new thoughts. And each time you get that little bit of anxiety or fear, because it kicks in, because that's what our brains are designed to do. That's what the subconscious mind is designed to do, to keep you safe. What if you said, this is just normal, and you keep telling yourself, it's okay, I'm okay, it's safe. And then just notice that, you know what, I'm still standing. I'm still here, and you start telling yourself the new story. And that's one thing that you can begin to do. And I'm going to tell you that none of this is easy. Everything that I'm saying is simple, but it does require a lot of awareness, and it requires a lot of consistency on your part to just keep noticing and then shifting. And of course, it's always helpful to have somebody else. It's easier for somebody else to see these things for you. But this is really a good place to start. And that's what I want to invite you to do, is to continue to push beyond your edges, to go and do something that maybe it's a little uncomfortable, but doing it anyway, because you know that it's in the direction of where you want to go. It's leading you to what you want. And the more you start telling yourself the new thoughts, and becomes your new story. And you're going to get to a point where it's just the next right step. It just feels good. You no longer have that fear because it's not real. You know, it's just this illusion that we live in, and we have control over what we think. That's really the only thing we have control over, is what we think, and we get to decide, and we get to change that. So go on and push beyond your edges, you guys. If you have any questions for me at all, you just let me know. Message me, put them in the comments below, and I will get back to you. Have a fabulous rest of your day. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you all on Thursday for Transform Your Business. Bye for now.